I don't know. I was gonna say, so I can see better.
I think you're good. I don't mean
All right, you're all set, Bob.
All right. With that, we'll get started. Welcome to the July 9th Zoning Board of Appeals meeting. We're getting started at 7 o'clock. We always start out with a pledge of allegiance. Do that. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Start out with a little bit of housekeeping stuff here. I'd like to ask for a motion for the minutes. Oh, actually, I gotta do attendance first, sorry.
Yeah, usually do attendance and you do like the, like where the exits are and stuff.
Right,
You gotta do your.
I'll do
Yeah,
the
your
airline.
airplane stuff. Yeah.
We'll start out in case of emergency. There's two exits over there, and there's exits on the other side of the atrium, and likewise on either side of the boardroom. We haven't had any issues yet, so I don't think you'll need it, but that's where it is. We'll start out with we'll follow up with the attendance. So please say present if you're here. Robert Peckham, present. Beth Mossworth, absent. John Miglerini,
Here.
Christian Chamberlain,
Here,
Heather Robinson,
Here,
Timothy Harrington,
Present.
Aaron Lehman.
Present.
Great. With that, can I get a motion for the minutes?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to offer a motion for approval of the June 4th, 2025 minutes.
Second.
Seconded by John. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed and abstained.
abstained.
Thank you. The meeting minutes have passed. And with that, we'll get started. I'll give you a description of what we do here and how this works, and what we're looking for from everybody. Everything that we have is a zoning variance, meaning that it was not approved. You have to convince us through testimony and information that it's something you should be able to have. We are looking for information about benefit to the applicant versus detriment to the neighborhood, environment, all those type of things. We're going to ask a bunch of questions. Some applications we might only ask one or two. Some we might ask a lot. And we do have some variation here for what we expect as far as the different types of questions we're going to be asking. So expect to answer those for us. Speak clearly into the microphone at the podium. We will call you up. We are looking for your name and address so we have it in the record. It's important to speak clearly. If we approve the application, what happens is you'll end up getting a letter from the town saying that's approved, and you will have to finish the process of going through the building department to finish the permit. If you don't, you'll come back here in a year to do it again. And so we ask you to make sure you follow through on that process. If it doesn't get passed, then that's the end of that, and it has to be dealt with that way. I will say we're always looking for the least amount of variance possible. So if you're asking for something that's considered large to us from the variance, we're going to ask you if you can do it smaller, if you can do it less, if you can change it. This is a normal action for us, and it's something you shouldn't be surprised if we respond that way. So just be aware those are some of the things we'll be doing today. But we look forward to your testimony and hope to make it as painless as possible. With that, we will start. Oh, Christian.
Quick question. I just, do we need to verify that our legal counsel, Eric Black, is on the Zoom call?
Is Eric on?
He is, and you
Oh,
don't.
there
need
he is. I can see
to
him. Got
I
it.
just wanted to make sure.
So he's on. I can see him. It's a small picture, but he's on there.
Okay. Hi, Eric.
With that, I'd like to start with application 2025-045, which is Dan Dixon at 200 Middle Road. Welcome.
My name is Dan Dixon. I live at 240 Ward Hill Road.
Welcome, Dan.
Hey, Dan, you're looking to add a additional shed to the garage.
Yes,
I read all your stuff through there about you need the more room because the house has to be taken care of and everything else.
yes, I'm gonna get the stuff out of the house, sort it out, put it in there, and then we're gonna hopefully by the beginning of next year be going for a demolition permit for the house.
Are you going to be building the shed yourself or are you going to be
Yes.
purchasing it? Okay.
Are you replacing the house? Or just demolishing the house?
That's the next meeting. Hopefully, we're building something in its place, but new.
Yeah, of course. The build of the addition that you're asking about, is that gonna match the rest of the garage?
Same roofing, same siding, the same trim. If you're looking at the garage, it's 30 feet across now with two individual bays. So this would be on the side, it would come out 10 feet by 24 feet deep. So, and that would all be just storage. There wouldn't be I'm gonna build it, I'm not gonna put concrete floor down or anything like that. It's gonna be built similar to like a deck with walls, I guess,
That
like a shed.
shed with walls. That's gonna be on what I'm gonna call the front side of the garage, the side closest to the road.
Yes. And from the road, it's not even visible. From the road, you can't even see it.
Yeah, you can't even see the garage.
I know you can see the front, but that's about it. It's really, are you gonna be clearing trees and other things out of there as well, now or in the future?
In the future.
So we will see it in the future.
Oh, as far as those pine trees go, no. There's dead trees on the property that will be removing. I thought that's what you meant.
No, and wonderful, good to hear that too.
Also, the town clerk probably told you when the final for the existing garage was never finalized. So that'll have to be done also.
Yeah, he mentioned when I went to the building permit, he mentioned that. I'm like, it was 23 or 4 years ago.
2003.
So yeah, he said he would finalize the whole thing altogether.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I might have missed it. Are you building the addition yourself?
Yes.
Okay.
Are you putting a hole in the garage or are you just attaching it to the side of it?
We're just attaching to the side. We're not doing anything structural to the existing building.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions from the board?
Is there currently electric going out to the existing garage, or is that going to be added on to the new part?
There's an electrical panel in the garage, and that's one of the reasons we want to attach it so you can run lights. We have the electric's already there.
Okay, so there'll be electric in that part as well. Okay.
Yes, just honestly, just lights.
Okay.
Any other questions from the board? Any questions from members of the audience? Heather, anything online? Okay. All right. With that, we can close this application.
Mr. Chairman, with regards to application ZBA 2025-045 for an area variance, I move to approve. Whereas the zoning board has duly advertised and held public hearings, has considered all the relevant information and has considered the potential benefits to the applicant versus the potential detriment to the neighborhood or community in relation to such variance. Now therefore be it resolved that the zoning board of appeals makes the following findings of facts. The variance will not result in an undesirable change to the characteristic of the neighborhood. The shed he's putting in is next to the existing garage and he's using it for storage. The variance cannot be achieved by some other feasible alternative, as there is no other place near the existing garage to add the shed. The variance requested is not substantial. Addition will blend in with the existing garage to match. The variance will not have a negative effect on the physical or environmental conditions. We'll be adding additional storage as needed for the renovation he will be doing on his house. The difficulty related to the variance was self-created. And again, he needs the storage for the house. And be it further resolved that based upon the above findings, the zoning board of appeal hereby approves the variance as presented.
I'll second.
Seconded by Christian. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Great, thank
Thank
you.
you. And don't forget, you got to finish the process.
I go in tomorrow? Or that's
I don't know. Can you do it?
You can submit tomorrow.
Okay, I can submit tomorrow.
You got to wait for the letter too.
Review, I'm quite lengthy, so.
Okay.
Look at it several weeks.
Okay, all right, great.
Thank you. Have a nice evening. Next applications are for 131 Down Street, their application 2025-046 and 047. Welcome.
Hey,
Hey,
Skylar Mitchell, 131 Down Street.
Thank you for coming.
I wanted to thank you first for the completeness of your application. Had a lot of information there and it was very, very informative.
Perfect. That was mainly my architect helped set that up, but
Yeah,
I
definitely.
appreciate that.
Well, then they knew what they're doing.
But either way, it was a
Good.
lot of good information to go
Good.
through. So basically, so you're basically adding a garage, going to be adding a family room in the front. Kind of a small house, looks like from the road there. So you basically want to fix it up and make it more give them more space, more storage.
Yes, sir. Small family. We have a 2-year-old and plan to expand family as well. Our house is currently 1,000 square feet. I think the living space with the addition will be roughly about 1,500 square feet. We currently don't have a garage, and that hence the reason for adding a garage.
And you want to have 35-foot deep garage to be able to work on your car. Do you? I mean, do you?
The main reason for it being 35 deep instead of 35 wide, I think that is your question, is it would become much closer to one of my neighbors. So going 35 deep actually only goes from where our existing house is. It only goes 5 feet past the existing house into the backyard. So we, along with the architect, thought it'd be much smarter to go deeper than wider. So we're not imposing onto a neighbor as much as obviously just moving into our backyard a little bit more.
Okay. And there was a question we did have during the workshop about the driveway. Would you plan on, I mean, right now the driveway's not that wide, you're gonna extend it or widen it once you have the addition put on?
The driveway right now is actually pretty wide. It's probably a little bit more, I don't know the exact footage. I should have wrote that down, but it's like you can fit 2 cars on it now. So I don't plan on making the driveway wider. If it is, it won't be by much, but we never discussed that. So I don't think that would be a situation.
Okay,
Great.
just curious. Okay. I don't need more questions.
Any other board members have a question? Well, any questions from members of the audience? Yep, I will have you step aside. For
Yes.
a moment. Or have a seat. There's a whole row,
I know.
a whole row.
Didn't even lay down.
Could you please state your name and address for the record?
My name is Christine Juby and I live at 15 Gatehouse Trail. The reason why I'm here is because I am concerned about this addition and the encroachment on the setback. Henrietta is a town with many small houses, and I very much understand people wanting to expand, and that has happened in the past, and I expect it to continue to happen in the past. But I'm concerned about this. It's similar to something that was just a few houses, a request that was a few houses away from mine last year. But anyway, I am concerned because it does go into, it appears to go into 11.5 feet of the setback that is required. So it is coming out quite far. The application, which was very well done, it does include support letters, but I'm concerned that those support letters, which were pre-printed for the neighbors to sign, it doesn't address specifically the depth of the family room addition, and that it was coming out 20 feet, and that more than half of that was going into the setback. So that's not really specified in the support letters that people really had that information. The application also does not explain why the benefit cannot be achieved in another method, specifically that the addition could go on the back of the house. There is a large tree in the backyard, but that is not a permanent impediment to the building towards the back, because the tree could be removed at any time. I'm also not clear about the need for such an oversized garage, and I am concerned that it would be used for commercial purposes, which is a similar problem or issue that has come up in the neighborhood that I live in, with additions going on for commercial purposes. There is an existing large shed on the property already, which can also be used for storage. I'm also concerned about, with the size of the garage, that the roof of the garage it seems to be substantially higher than the existing house. I can't tell exactly how many feet higher it is from the existing house, but there is a house down the street that has the garage a little higher, but it's only about a foot higher. I can't tell how much higher this is. I'm also concerned because this is really doubling the footprint of the house, and that it really is a very large addition that will create additional water runoff from roofs, and mitigating the water runoff is not addressed in any way. I am also concerned about if the driveway is also widened at some point, that will also, create more water runoff. So I think it's important, because there are so many small houses, and I think it's fine that people want to expand their houses, but I think it's important to expand them in ways that don't change the neighborhood and how it looks, and having such a deep front addition, which encroaches into the setback, I think is not appropriate. And I worry about this setting a bad precedent, because I expect more people to be doing this, which is, I think, perfectly normal. And, if it's well done and it's approved, it's fine, but I just don't see the need for it to encroach on the setback. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Oh, you got more questions? Please, you have to come up to the microphone and say your name and address for the record. Welcome.
Hi, my name's Kurt Whiteman. I live next door to Skylar at 139 Down Street.
Yep.
Just to clarify, when he brought these letters to the neighbors and said, hey, this is what I want to do, he explained everything to us. When I bought the house that I'm in currently, I put on a 22 by 28 foot garage right next door. Never had an issue. I don't have an issue with anything that he's doing.
Yes.
I think the plans are, say for themselves, that they're well drawn out. It's well thought out. He's actually changed the plans a few times to make sure that it fits within what it needs to be. As for water runoff, his backyard slopes down tremendously into a runoff creek. And this past 2 weeks ago, when we had the heavy rain,
I remember,
there was not an issue in either his backyard or our backyard. And if you're familiar with the area, his house backs up to the house that they call the Castle on Queensway. If you've seen that house, that's been sliced and diced and put together. This is not that. I fully support what he's doing, and I don't disagree with it that it's getting bigger, but he's going to have a growing family. The garage is the size to be able to put a couple of cars in and store his lawn equipment and whatnot, and that's what everybody's looking for. So I just wanted to say that.
thank you, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
If we could have you back up. I would like to answer some of the questions that came up.
Yeah.
If you can. Some of the ones that I'm trying to remember offhand. What is the height difference between the garage addition and the existing house, or the adjusted house when it's done?
I don't have the exact number in front of me, so I apologize for that, but it is, I would say, maybe 2 feet would be my guess. Again, I don't have the exact plan in front of me right now. I apologize.
No, that's fine. I didn't see it on there either way, so that's why I was asking.
And one of the questions the lady had, I forgot your name, I'm sorry, but if you were using for commercial purposes, I
do not plan on using it for commercial purposes. No, I don't really know how else to say that besides just
No,
bluntly, no.
No, you don't. Okay.
your testimony is valid. Was there others that we didn't hear?
Runoff.
Oh, runoff. So right now on the plans, you guys do not show any downspouts. Do you plan on putting downspouts?
Yeah, the site contractor will take care of all drainage from the house. I guess I've not gone in depth with said site contractor about exactly what his plan is, but I will obviously make sure and confirm that none of the, there will be no major runoff, or it'll be any more than what is already existing on the home.
that answer the questions for the board?
Mhm.
Precedent was one of those comments.
Precedent?
Set it, might just set a precedent.
Precedent, so that's a valid question. For zoning, every single individual application and variance is handled on its own merits. We do not use precedents for zoning. We do have the idea or the notion of the feel of a neighborhood and things of that nature, but that does not mean precedent stands it's on each individual's merit versus what we see in the neighborhood. If one person has a fence, that doesn't mean we're going to give it to another person. As an example, if one business has a sign, it doesn't mean another business is entitled to a sign. It is something we maybe consider. It's part of our thought process, but it is not precedence in that sense. So just for addressing that component, I want to make sure that I say that clearly. I think we have no more questions.
Should we put a restriction in that no commercial activities are to happen in the structure?
I
I
don't,
don't think they can.
I don't think you can do that.
Right.
This wouldn't be that case. So no problem.
The shed is there other sheds on the property?
There is a small shed in the backyard, yes, ma'am.
Okay,
What's your plan for that?
yeah,
Honestly, just the storage that I already occupy it for. To be honest, my son has like little, your typical electric, ride-on toys. Again, I don't have a garage, so it's, when we first got there, we used the shed for said storage. I would like to get it out of that and, just to be able to clean it up more. And again, to mainly park our car in there, or both my wife and my car in there comfortably, and, things of that nature, I guess.
Great. Any other questions from the board? Any other questions from members of the audience or online? Okay, with that, I think we can close the application.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, with regard to application number ZBA 2025-046 and 047 for an area variance, I move to approve as follows. Whereas the zoning board has, 1, duly advertised and held a public hearing, 2, has considered all relevant information, and 3, has considered the potential benefit to the applicant versus the potential detriment to the neighborhood or community in relation to such variances. Now therefore be it resolved that the zoning board of appeals makes the following findings of fact. The variances will not result in an undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties. The proposed addition to the front of the house will be a single story in keeping with the character of the house. It will be set back from the road so as not to block views of the adjacent neighbors. The proposed garage addition will extend toward the back of the house. The variances cannot be achieved by some other feasible alternative. Locating the addition to the front of the house is the best use of the available property and to obtain the design intent of the addition. Code allows 35 feet wide by 30 feet deep garages. Proposed is 30 foot wide and 35 feet deep, essentially reorienting what is normally allowed. Reducing garage depth would also limit the applicant's workspace. The variance requested is not substantial. The proposed addition will allow for adequate setback. Property is located on the outside of a curve in the road, which will not limit views. And reorienting the garage as proposed reduces the footprint when viewed from the street. The variance will not have a negative effect on physical or environmental conditions. The addition will not create any additional drainage issues. The garage will provide needed storage for the applicant's vehicles. And once completed, the renovations will be an overall enhancement to the neighborhood. The difficulty relating to the variance was self-created due to the applicant's desire to enhance the look of their home and provide needed storage space. And be it further resolved that based upon the above findings, the Zoning Board of Appeals hereby approves the variance as presented.
I'll second.
Seconded by Heather. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So the motion carries.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
evening.
And then the permit, you said I start that right there. Okay. Beautiful.
And you'll get everybody who gets approved will get a letter from the zoning department to say that it's been approved or declined. Likewise, it would say that. Then I would suggest going to the building department.
Okay, so wait for said letter, then.
You'll have it next week, yes.
Okay, okay. I'm good.
You're good.
Thank y'all. Thank y'all so much. Appreciate it.
Take off if you want.
Have a good night.
Bear with me a moment. Come on. Good, not bad. Next, we have application 2025-048, which is 44 Bell Manor Drive. Welcome.
Hello, I am Michelle Medisick of 44 Bell Manor Drive, and this is my wife, Michaela Blyer.
Oh, welcome.
Thank you.
There's going to be a lot of questions. We've been talking about it a bunch here. Who has this?
I do.
Heather, why don't you start?
Yep. So you guys have installed a 6-foot privacy fence where a 3-foot fence is allowed by code due to ongoing harassment from your neighbor. Can you explain a little bit more about why you need the fence?
Yes, we have been unable to go about our daily lives because of the harassment from our neighbor. In full transparency, we have put the fence up, as I'm sure you've seen, and that is because we could not wait the 2 months from putting in our application until coming to court. Our lives have been threatened multiple times by this person. Every time that we were visible to him, he was screaming at us, he was harassing us. We have a police report against him right now for harassment. The police have yet to come and arrest him. So because of this, we have put up a physical barrier between our 2 homes so that he will not be able to disturb us and he can't continue to harass us the way that he has. It has been truly, truly horrifying to have to live next to this man.
He's in the yellow house, literally to the left.
Yeah,
Street side.
52 Bell Manor.
Okay. Have you guys looked at other options besides a privacy fence?
The other options that were presented to us when we went to the police were to move. And that is the biggest slap in the face that I could ever imagine. Besides that, we could go with landscaping, but landscaping honestly does not grow big enough, quick enough for what we've needed. We have also gotten a weapon in our home, which is something that we have not been the most comfortable with, but when someone points a laser pointer into your bedroom window saying that they are going to shoot your head off, it really makes you want to protect yourself and want to put a barrier in between you and that other person.
Understood. Any other questions or comments? I think there's a bunch. I'm just.
Yeah. So the challenge is as compelling as the story is, it's not our jurisdiction to resolve that problem. It's awful, right?
It's awful.
We have
for
to take over the jurisdiction of the zoning board, which is fence, yes or no.
Mhm.
That's correct. So there are things that we have to weigh out. As I said in the beginning, our main focus is applicants, benefits the applicants, which you're describing for us, detriment to the neighborhoods, the other half of that. And again, we will pay attention to what Mr. Harrington said, is that these, to us, unfortunately for you guys, we think about this in 2 separate ways. We haven't decided yet, but these are 2 separate things. And so we have to think about that way when we're asking these questions and making a decision. Visually, I'm being blunt with you. I'm not a fan of it. I don't think it looks good visually, and I think it's an eyesore visually. But I do understand the need or the desire and the use of it right now. I do not like it it's something we very rarely pass that. So this is something that's going to be a little bit of strange space for us.
How long has the fence been up?
We put the
Month.
fence up Memorial Day weekend, and since then, we have not been harassed since.
Okay, that was gonna be my next question, is has it changed anything?
It has absolutely changed things. The entire months of April and May, we could not be outside in our yard. We couldn't bring groceries in from the house without being screamed at. Since the fence has gone up, none of that has continued, and our neighbor who is the issue has told us that he loves the fence and that it's the best thing we've ever done. Quote.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
That's awful. I do need to mention, because they're not here, there are two letters of opposition to the fence that have come into us. I will address this because I need to for the record. Sorry, give me a moment. So the letter says, this application requests a variance for a 6-foot tall stockade fence in the front yard. On Sunday, May 25th, 25, my neighbors at 44 Bell Manor Drive started the installation of a 6-foot stockade fence and completed it on June 3rd. Going against zoning code, we got that. I have lived at 60 Bell Manor Drive for 32 years. The zoning code was amended in 92, the same year I bought the home. We have this code because it enacted by the town taking into consideration public safety, neighborhood aesthetics, and real property values. Having this fence in violation of the code has the potential to decrease property values, create safety hazards, and negatively affect the aesthetics of the neighborhood. Stanley Waskowski, who resides at 52 Bell Manor Drive, has been my neighbor for 32 years. There may be disagreements between neighbors, but there are legal ways to handle this other than violating a town zoning code that affects the rest of the neighborhood and town. I want you to enforce the code. This is why we have it. Would you want this fence in your neighborhood? Every home in Rush Henrietta would have the potential to also have their own 6-foot yard fence. Thank you for the consideration. I will put a comment onto that as well. As I mentioned a moment ago, these are independent decisions. They are not based on what the neighbor is doing. So I don't mean the neighbor in question that we're talking about. I'm saying with regards to zoning. That's one of them. This is from 68 Bell Manor Drive. Application, did I already read this one? No. The application requests a variance of 6-foot tall stockade fence in the front yard. Fence was erected without a variance because the owners at 44 Bell Manor Drive say they feel threatened by their neighbor who resides at 52. And now, after the fact, they request a variance. I've lived at 68 Bell Manor Drive for 50 years and have known Stanley most of his life. While I agree he can be loud and obnoxious, he has never been a threat to neighbors. The lady who formerly owned the house at 44 was in her mid-80s and she had no problem with Stanley. I too do not feel threatened by him. I do, however, feel threatened if this stockade fence remains in the property. It's dangerous and detracts from the value of the neighborhood. I'm 93 years old and not in the best health and concerned about medical personal reasons for not being able to be there. I ask you, please do not grant this variance. If the fence is allowed to remain, another homeowner might want this to do the same, and it sets a precedent, which we've already addressed. So I read them in the notes here, into the record. I think some of the questions that I have probably will cause aggravation, but I'm going to ask them anyways because I need to. Do you believe there's other ways that we can deal with this to not have a fence in the front yard? I ask as thoughts out loud of surveillance of video cameras, ring cameras. I'm thinking of things out loud without going through the thoughts you guys have.
We have cameras in the property. We have 4 cameras in our home. We have upped our personal security where it's being monitored 24/7 by the company that does our home surveillance. Those videos have all been shown to the police and they were the ones that put out the harassment violation arrest on our neighbor. So other than a fence, I'm not really sure what else it could be. And also to state the obvious, the difference between us and our neighbors that have lived there for years is that we are gay. So them not being threatened by the neighbor or harassed by them, it's no wonder why it's being thrown at us.
This is not normal harassment. It's not technical enough to be a hate crime, according to the police, but it is a hate crime because they're vulgar homophobic slurs. They're not normal harassment neighbor to neighbor. It is directed at our sexuality and our life, and we are the only ones that's happening to. So,
well, it's clearly uncalled for. So I hope I'm not. We have to ask certain questions. So I hope it doesn't come across as being insensitive to your needs here, but it is part of what we have to do for this. So I do apologize for that.
The process is formally called the findings of fact. We literally
Yeah.
address everything.
It's just a fact is that we have
Yep.
two married women.
Sure. I understand that, and I don't think it's called for obviously, so it's something that's tough, I'm sure, to deal with. What questions do we have, concerns, things that we need to address? Is this something that we want to take a vote on now, or do we want to have more conversation about this?
Let's maybe a little more conversation. I want to make a couple comments to the board. So to the neighbor who wrote in opposition, she posed the question, would you want the fence in your neighborhood? To which I would reply, would you want a harasser harassing individuals in your neighborhood?
This has been both valid questions.
Because they do. Second point is, to the comment of the other neighbor. It affects the character of the neighborhood. I would argue that a fence that has reduced the harassment has improved the character of the neighborhood substantially. I think that's the greatest weighing factor for me to think that says I'm okay with this fence staying up.
Okay. Broadman, right now, go ahead.
I had some more questions.
Please ask.
So as our chairman has mentioned that, his opinion is that it's not as aesthetically pleasing. Have you guys thought about, maybe adding plantings around the fence, or right now it's unpainted or unstained? Do you guys plan on doing anything if it were approved, any additional improvements? So that way it's more pleasing.
Yes, we've added landscaping on our side of the fence that faces our home. We have a line of arborvitae trees that were there before and are now growing a lot better. We've added peonies, we have foxgloves. There's a lot of plants on our side. On his side, it's too close to the property line to plant anything over there. We do have plans to stain the fence because it's pressure treated wood. We have to let it dry out a little bit more. But that fencing that we got is just typical stockade fencing from Lowe's. It's not anything that we, really made. That's just typical wood fence paneling.
Yep.
It's also new and a vibrant wood color that will fade pretty quickly.
Yeah, it's a bit green right now because of how pressure treated it is.
You tell us and we will paint the color you want.
Any color you want, we'll paint it. We'll have it match the house, whatever.
But is the fence is right on the property line, or is it further in, like the actual line, the property line itself?
It is inside of the line, but not like enough room to have plants that
Right.
we would be able to get without being on his side.
Okay,
Which obviously we don't want.
right, exactly. With, so there's about 10 feet between your house and the fence right now?
Correct.
Okay. Is that typically enough for a truck to get through, Kevin, or is that something like, would that impede the fire department at all?
No, they wouldn't take trucks in the yard.
They wouldn't, okay.
They would think.
I didn't know if that was ever needed to get back there or something, but okay.
Heather, was there more questions?
No, I had no more.
Does anybody want time to think through this, or do we want to? Look, Aaron, do you have an opinion? You don't have to tell me. I'm just saying.
No, I think I've already decided I don't need to table it, but I understand if we need to do so.
Yeah. Tim, you're decided.
I'm in favor.
Christian.
One question I just have, as far as the fence itself, I know it stops at a certain point. There's a swing there. I'm assuming that's your neighbor's.
Yes.
It was, how far is it from the road as far as the beginning of the fences? It goes up to,
I bet it's 35 feet or something
something like
like
that,
that.
yeah. I just,
That's a guess.
It's more than 25 feet for the right of way.
There'll be more questions.
right, it's not, it's something, I think one of the other, letters that we received said that they would be blocking the view, and I drove past, it didn't block the
Well-
view at all, as far as that was concerned, but, I didn't know how far from the right of way line the fence begins. I didn't see that in the map, that's all.
Okay.
It looks like it's, you said 25 feet, so.
Before I go to the audience, is any more questions here? Okay, I'll have you guys step aside for just a moment. And I think there's questions from or comments from the audience. Oh, I thought you were, okay. Got it. Either way, any more questions from us? Sounds like no. Okay. We can have you come back. I'm sorry. I thought there was questions. I think we have made a decision here. So with that, we would like to close this application.
Yes.
And it takes just,
Yeah, just give me 1 second.
while she's writing that, I will share this. I'm sorry you're going through this pain. That's not appropriate for anyone. I hope something can get done for that.
Thank you.
By law or whatever situation that is. I will also stand by, even if I vote for this in the affirmative, I am not in favor of the fence for any other reason besides this. So it's sort of a hard one for me because this goes along for as long as that property's in place, that rule's allowed. So for us, that's a little bit of a factor that we bring into this as well. So it's a hard one, but your testimony has swayed my opinion. I was an absolute no when I came in, and I'm sorry for what you guys are going through.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's probably not widely known, but when we decide on these, the decision sticks with the parcel, not with the owners of the house itself. It's on the parcel and forever. Yeah.
And Heather, would you, is there anything we can write in there that,
It'd only be on that side of the property.
yeah, maybe just say that it's only that side of the property. That's north, right? Correct?
It is the north, yes.
You guys don't plan on going all the way around?
No, no,
Well-
we didn't do it for aesthetic reasons. We literally only did it for safety and peace of mind. So we don't want to put up any more fence. We don't want to dig any more holes. It was not easy. Oh,
No,
That Henrietta clay is no joke.
yeah, we are not known for good dirt to dig in.
No.
So we're writing an additional comment on here that you cannot expand the fence.
okay.
It's sticking to where it is right now. It's probably the only reason that I would vote yes for this is for the safety part of it. It's the only reason I would vote yes for this. You good?
Mr. Chairman, with regard to application number ZBA 2025-048 for an area variance, I move to approve as follows. Whereas the zoning board has duly advertised and held a public hearing, has considered all relevant information, and has considered the potential benefit to the applicant versus the potential detriment to the neighborhood or community in relation to such variance. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the zoning board of appeals makes the following findings of fact. The variance will not result in an undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties, as the fence installed has reduced issues with the neighbor and the applicant plans on thinning the fence. The variance cannot be achieved by some other feasible alternative. Other alternatives like planting bushes or trees wouldn't give the applicant the immediate safety and security a 6-foot fence would. The variance requested is substantial as the applicant is asking for a 3-foot relief from the code. However, the safety concerns and hardship on the applicant from the neighbor disputes are valid. The variance will not have a negative effect on physical or environmental conditions, as the current fence doesn't affect the right-of-way or drainage. The difficulty relating to the variance was not self-created. The applicant does not feel safe on the property due to their neighbor, and approving the variance can provide that. And be it further resolved that based upon the above findings, the zoning board of appeals hereby approve the variance as presented. And be it further resolved that this approval shall be subject to the following conditions. To the north of the property at 56 feet as shown on the application.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Mr. Harrington. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries.
Thank you very much.
I wish you peace.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Yes.
Next we have ZBA 2025-049. That's the ad 105 Fair Avenue. I'm sorry. I'm looking for the address.
Do you guys want me to set this up or?
Yeah,
We got
yeah.
TV. Yeah.
If you don't mind, it makes it a little easier.
You brought it all the way here, you might as well, right?
Might as well.
What
Are you-
hurts more, setting it up or leaving or not doing it?
I mean, you took the time to print it. You took the time to print it and paperclip it.
Then put it away.
So my name is James Rittenthaler with Passero Associates. I'm here on behalf of our client, 2695 Commercial LLC. Here to present the 105 Fair Ave Apartments project. Here before you tonight for the zoning variance regarding the parking. Little history on the project. The project has been approved for a hotel use a couple years back regarding, changes in the market, comments back from the town and from neighbors. That project is no longer, and we're now here for a residential use, apartments, market rate apartments. The project has been granted special use permit by the town this year, and we are now looking for the variance on parking. So the project is pretty much identical to the same layout and style as previously approved as a hotel. We, have a 4-acre parcel here. It's kind of a slightly strange shape there with the creek and the floodways and all that in the back. But we are making the best use of it as possible. The reason for the variance is that the Henrietta parking code requires 2.2 parking spaces per unit. That at our 87 unit apartment count equals 192 spaces. Right now, proposed, we have 163. That includes 7 land bank parking spaces, 24 garages along the southern portion of the site, and 132 surface spaces. That includes 7 handicap spaces. The plans that you guys have as part of the application, this plan here shown on the board is slightly different, so that's another good reason for the board. It's slightly changed. We got comments from the town of Henrietta. They wanted us to shift the entrance so that it aligns with the library to the north. And also we're a little bit on the handicap parking count. So we shifted this a little bit to the west. We added handicap parking here and here. That obviously would be the 2 parking spaces for the ramp, but we made up those 2 in our drive. So if you look at this and you say, hey, that's slightly different, or you look at yours and say, hey, I don't see 7 handicap spaces, that's the reason for the change, but we are still at the exact same parking count now. So 163 parking spaces. What's that?
We have the same picture you have.
Okay, all right. Just want to make sure. I didn't know for sure what you guys are working off of. But so the need for the variance is obviously self-inflicted, but it is making the best out of the property, in our opinion. We would be able to make more parking. It would reduce garages, which is a want for market rate apartments. It would reduce interior green space and outdoor recreation area that we are providing on site. And it would lead to more storm water runoff that, especially in an area that has a floodway, that we are not affecting the floodway, it would lead to more stormwater runoff in the area, which is, of course, a concern of ours, of yours, of the New York State DEC, as I heard you guys talking about earlier with all the wetland rules and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, absolutely. But we don't believe that the parking count that we do have will be a detriment to the project. We have 2 different comparisons to present. First off, compared to the ITE guidelines, which is based off of data nationwide on different on all types of different projects. The parking data for similar market rate apartments requires on the high side of requirements is 1.75 parking spaces per unit. like I said before, we're providing 1.87.
And
So that,
James, can I add real quick to ask?
yeah,
Who's your targeted clientele that you would point at this specific data for the bed ratio?
targeted clientele or
Yeah,
this,
do you know who your customer base is going to be that led you to the data conclusion of the ratios?
so our customer base would be in the, I have the floor plans here. We're looking at mostly, um, we're looking at mostly one bedroom units and just slightly under that for two bedroom units. So most of them would be um, either single or couples with one, maybe two cars. We're located, practically right down the street there in a very kind of walkable area where we have all the sidewalks down Calkins, and we also have Wegmans and different things right there. Our target demographic is, I don't believe it's college kids where you have, maybe each kid had the car and there's one kid in each bedroom. And I'll actually get to that comparison as well of parking spaces per unit versus parking spaces per bedroom. But our target is singles or couples in the 1 and 2 bedroom units that have one, maybe two cars for the unit. And yeah, so that is a comparison on the ITE data that is for parking. That is for parking on market rate apartments that I believe was 2.5 bedroom units. That's what they recommend on the high side, which is that 1.75 spaces per unit. And at that recommendation, IT recommends 126 parking spaces. We're well above that. Going on, we also conducted a parking study of similar apartments in the area, in the town, I should say. Back in 2023, we used some of that data to guide our thinking behind the design for this one. That is included in the LOI that we provided, and that data shows that we are actually above a lot of the surrounding, well, actually, the ones that we studied, we are above the surrounding apartments that are similar in nature, similar unit counts, and similar unit uses, I should say, as like bedrooms per unit. And we are above them. The parking, the two projects that we studied were Lehigh Park and Winton Village. Those were broken out in parking spaces per unit and parking spaces per bedroom. And that was broken out on what was provided as well as what was actually being used based on their occupancy rate and how many cars were counted in the parking lots. For Lehigh Park and Winton Village, they were used parking 1.26 and 1.35 respectively, and total parking was 1.43 and 2.06 provided. Those are the parking spaces per unit. And on bedrooms, we were also over, I think, 25% higher on the used parking space per beds. On Lehigh Park, it's 0.79 for used parking. In Winton Village was 0.68. We're providing 1.13 parking spaces per bedroom. So even when you break it down to bedroom count, because units can be tricky as you go from 1 to 3, even when you break it down on spaces per bedroom count, we're still well above the IT guidelines and the existing conditions in the town of Henrietta. And as far as those, I know there's been a lot of talk tonight about precedent. That's not a, they have it, I want it. That's a, these are apartments that are out there, are not causing a detriment to the surrounding area, are not having parking issues so long as we are aware of. And I believe so long as the town is aware of. And we're using that as a guideline to say, we believe that this is provided, providing an appropriate amount of parking, and it won't be a detriment to the surrounding area with, lack of parking on the project. So.
Okay. Any questions?
Has there been any concern or consideration to parking enforcement, being close to the library and the recreation center. I know, there are times that you can't find a parking spot at the library or the recreation center at a given time. So I have a feeling people are going to, they shouldn't, they will decide to trickle into that lot.
Trickle into our lot or
Your lot, yeah, this lot. So has the developer given any consideration to how they would enforce that parking?
So we don't have any consideration for that right now, as far as I know of. If that is a issue that the town is recommending to look into, especially if I thought you were saying, given we have a variance to go lower, trickle into the library parking lot, but
Right.
But yeah, if you're saying they'll trickle into ours, I will definitely bring that up to the client, and I believe a parking system would probably be or a parking tag system would probably be fairly easy to sort out. I'm not sure of the want to start towing cars or anything like that. So I will bring that up, and that is definitely something that we would be interested in talking to the town about, whether there are prior examples of enforcement that's already going on that the town prefers. So
I would like to understand what you plan to do about snow removal and storage or placement. What is the plan there?
Yeah, of course. So we do have this whole area here. We actually have shifted some of the light poles out of this area. And we also have underground storage systems for the stormwater. So there's not actually the ability to have large trees here. We've shifted those around on the site. We still have the required tree numbers. But that is a shift that has happened per town comments just recently. So that leaves this whole area along here, like all for snow storage area that actually will, especially with that snow as it gets pushed off the pavement, it won't flow directly to the creek. It won't flow off site. It'll flow into our stormwater management areas. And that will be the majority of stormwater, or that will be the majority of snow storage. Past that, we do have some snow storage areas off some of these other areas that park spaces there, but we do have pretty clear drive aisles going all the way through that we can push back to the stormwater management areas.
Great. Like we ask many other apartment complexes, what are your possibilities for extra parking if you find it to be an issue?
We do have some land bank spaces that we would be providing if it becomes an issue.
7, you said?
Yes, we have 7 provided.
Okay.
If it becomes an issue past that, which we don't expect, do
you expect it to be an issue up to that?
We don't expect it to be an issue at all. That is getting back to the parking study count. So we don't expect it to be an issue at all. But if it is, we have the land banked.
Thank you.
And there's going to be 24 garages?
Yes. Yep. These are 2 identical.
So the parking garages, are they by unit or are they a free for all?
They're not a free for all. They are per unit. They are rented out space for certain individuals.
Okay.
Any other questions? Well, any questions from members of the audience? Okay. We got a couple. We'll go here first. We'll go there first. Please do.
My name is Kelly Ann Davis. Do you need to know where I live?
Yes.
72 Princess Drive.
Thank you.
I have a question about more of the handicap. I haven't seen this before, so I don't even know if it's 1 story, 2 story.
Yeah.
4 story.
4 stories?
Yes.
Yeah.
And is it elevated or stairs? It's elevated. Okay. So, handicap parking, you mentioned 7?
Yes.
Yes, correct.
I'm
Where
sorry,
is
you get to a microphone, James? There's
Yeah,
a.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hang on.
Yeah.
Actually, we
Yeah.
have to,
I was just trying to
Usually
give
I-
eye contact.
But
Yeah, I'm just wondering where the 7 comes from for handicap parking, because if it does have an elevator, I know that Rush Henrietta is accumulating more and more handicapable people. So it would be a benefit, I think, if maybe there were more
so
handicap.
we
But I
are,
don't know what the rules are.
yeah, we are providing one extra over what the
Standard.
than what the requirements are. Yeah,
Okay.
per the total it's based on the total count of parking spaces on site, and I believe we're required 6. Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you very much.
thank you,
Thank you.
Thank you.
appreciate that. Mr. Stafford?
Mike Stafford, how are you? Just a couple questions. When you said the 7 land bank, is that out of the 163 to make it 158?
Yes,
So
yeah.
you're actually only gonna have 158 to start.
Yes.
Okay. And then out of the 28 garage or 24 garages,
Correct, 24.
I mean, I would suspect, I'm not sure. Is there any studies show that how many of them will actually be used for storage versus cars?
I don't have a study of that on hand. I'm not sure, but the understanding, especially if we are going down the line of parking enforcement, would be if you are paying for a garage, you probably will not be allowed to fill it with stuff and then park 2 cars out in the lot or something like that. So that's something that we can explore with the town if that is a concern.
That was my question. Is, are they going to have numbered, assigned parking spots? So if I'm in apartment 1, that's my parking spot. Apartment 2.
We don't have assigned parking spots right now, but
Okay.
like I said, we can explore that.
Okay.
But, as to our understanding, that has not been an issue on anything that we've done in the town of Henrietta, and elsewhere has not been an issue so far.
I can tell you, going by Witten Village, there's quite often, the reason I bring it up is, as you mentioned, you're stuck, is quite often some tenants are parked on the grass because they can't find parking spots. And, the fire department even had an issue getting in there where they ended up hitting a parked car during the fire. So, because they couldn't make the turns.
Where was this at?
Witten Village.
Oh,
Was that recent?
That was, I'm guessing, 2 years ago, right in that frame. I'm not sure. I could find out from the.
Out of curiosity, Mike, I don't know if you know this. I don't know the parking layout there too well. The question I think that you have is the parking layout designed to handle the trucks coming through, even at capacity?
Right.
I think is the question, right?
That's my question.
Yeah, all of it is 26-foot wide parking aisles for the fire truck, barring illegally parked cars in the drive aisle.
Yeah, I don't believe the one that was hit.
Yeah. Okay. Has the fire access been reviewed by the local fire marshal? Yeah.
I would have to double check whether we've gotten comments. Yeah. Okay. But we do provide in the plans that truck turning radiuses and plans as well. So I have that here if you want to see the logos.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead, Mike.
You mentioned most of them were 1 bedrooms. Actually, I think most of them are 2 and 3 bedrooms. We have 45 2 and 3 bedrooms.
Yes, there are 45 2 and 3s. There are 43 1 bedrooms. So
okay. I just wanted to make sure I had that right. And then if it was 1 less story, you wouldn't need this permit.
If it was 1 less story.
Okay, thanks. That's all. That's the question. Just a question. Okay, thank you.
The Winton Village analysis is 97% occupancy. And you're seeing they only utilize 66% of the parking lot.
There are 2, 3 bedrooms.
Can I ask you what time that study was taken?
I don't have the full.
3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah, and that's, and if you drive by there at 3 o'clock in the afternoon,
was
I
empty.
would probably be. I'm just, that's.
It's a
I was
valid
just
point.
asking
I don't know
questions.
the answer to that, but
Just asking questions, so.
No, absolutely.
when we look at the studies that you've used as your analysis in table one, we see Winton Village was 66% utilization and occupancy was 97%. So pretty full as far as occupancy, but pretty empty as far as parking.
Yeah.
In that analysis. And likewise, the Lehigh Park, which again, I just don't know the parking lots well enough. Lehigh Park was 96% occupied, so effectively the same, but 88% full on the lot. But the problem that we're hearing in testimony here from Mike, from Mr. Stafford, is that it's that doesn't match what he's seen as reality.
And that was Whitten Village that I see, that I go by, not the other one.
Not Lehigh, but
Not
Winton.
Lehigh. Yep, that because I pass by there.
Yeah.
And I do see cars parked on the lawn.
On the grass.
Right on the, right where I'm talking about. So I just wanted to ask the question and also find out what time the study was taken.
I think we asked that a couple of years ago. I don't think we knew the answer then either. What did you say the total count was for the units?
It was 87.
Yeah.
87. And comparison to the parking spaces, just for the reference one more time, the Winton Village.
So Winton Village has 2.06 parking per unit.
And you got 175?
We have 1.875.
1.87.
But per bed, that's where we differ from Winton Village, where they have 180 units, but they have 359 beds. So that's a lot more 2 and 3 bedrooms.
Okay.
Where we are better than the Winton Village. Winton Village has 1.03 parking spaces per bed. We have 1.13.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yep.
Have you guys had discussion, I should say, with the client, about not doing the garages? Because those could also be parking spaces as
They
well.
are counted as parking spaces.
Are they really? Oh,
Yeah, they are counted as parking spaces. They are only slightly larger than parking spaces. It would maybe gain us 2, probably like 1 out of each garage area, maybe 3 or 4, but it would not gain that much to the point that we are not needing a variance. So
Are the garages enclosed or are they open?
they're enclosed.
Okay.
I think that's why Mike was asking the
Yeah.
question about storage versus parking.
For me, if it's enclosed, it encourages storage versus a car.
Or both.
correct.
Right.
What is the count ratio with the garages? Without the garage, so 24 spots, got it. Sorry, just thinking out loud. Okay. Can we make a decision on this or do we need more?
I have one more question. You show that the accessible parking spaces on all sides of the building almost. Each of those areas is very close to egresses. Are all the egresses accessible?
Yes.
Okay.
Good. Okay, I think with that, we'll close this application.
Mr. Chairman, with regard to application number ZBA 2025-049 for an area variance, I move to approve as follows. Whereas the zoning board has duly advertised and held a public hearing, has considered all the relevant information, has considered the potential benefit to the applicant versus the potential detriment to the neighborhood or community in relation to such variances. Now therefore be it resolved that the zoning board of appeals makes the following findings of fact. The variance will not result in an undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties. In fact, this request is intended to minimize the impact to the neighborhood by reducing the amount of land to be disturbed. Two, the variance can be achieved by some other feasible alternative by creating the amount of spaces dictated by code, but significant research into local and national parking versus bed ratios does prove that many spaces are not necessary and the extra spaces would impact the environment. Three, the variance requested is not substantial. Four, the variance will not have a negative effect on the physical or environmental conditions. The goal of the request is to reduce physical impact and preserve the planned outdoor recreation space. Five, the difficulty related to the variance was self-created, given the lot and building size chosen, but the objective here is a logical reduction of unnecessary spaces. And be it further resolved that based upon the above findings, the zoning board of appeals hereby approve the variance as presented.
Second. Seconded by John. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Opposed.
Heather's opposed. With that, the resolution passes.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Thank you. Good evening.
Thank you. And last but not least, we have 2025-050. And I think that, oh, you're in person.
Oh, that's my husband. Working at town.
Oh, he's the guy up there.
He's there.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm here.
That's okay. Please state your names and address.
Sure, Kathleen Allen Caballero, 193 York Bay Trail, West Henrietta.
Juan Carlos Caballero Press, 193 York Bay Trail.
Thank you. Who's got this one?
Welcome. We spoke this afternoon on the phone, and we talked a bit about your application. My understanding is that it is to be a workshop for really a studio space with electric. It is a prefab house, or not prefab house, a prefab building that would come and be assembled on site.
Correct.
And that this is fulfilling the need to no longer want to have the studio space in the city and have that on your own property.
Correct.
Yeah, I have the studio for I've been renting it for some time, and I work in RIT, and sometimes I work when I have time, which is in the evening, so on Saturdays, and sometimes I have to stay at 3-4 in the morning. It's kind of hard, and for some time I've been trying to think about getting something so that I'm close to home, because sometimes it's impossible for me to get to that. If it's at home, I can go and just work right there.
Okay. I think the feeling of the board is that it is a very large building.
Absolutely.
For this kind of use, and I guess I'd like to know a little bit more about this use. Is a studio? Is it the space, or how we came to the space size?
Yeah, so what I have right now it's double that size, and I have tools, machines, benches. I do large work, sculpture, painting, and other mixed media. So it gets hard to it fills completely. So I'm reducing in this space to less than half, and it's fine. I need to do that. I'm old. Sometimes it's hard to get to everything, and so it's half of that space. But it's very odd, because when you put all the benches that I have and tools, it reduces the space to very small and minimum size to be safe, for me to, to move around and work.
Can you clarify that, please? 480 is half of the space?
So the studio space that we rent now is double what we are proposing to put in the backyard. He has several drawing tables. He has, canvases, other things, and he needs to have space also to move around and to be able to have workspace.
What type of artwork is this that we're talking about? Is it, I drove by your house. You have very nice, interesting, metallic, and geometric shapes out front.
Yeah, I do mixed media. I do metal work. I do plaster. I do wood. So some of the work probably you guys maybe see it in my house. Some it's in my backyard, because this when they start making the work, the space gets full. Just 1, 2, 3 pieces, and the space it gets full. So that's mainly what I'm trying to get. In this case, a smaller space that I can work home, and have some of these, out in the yard until I move them away. it's not a commercial use that I'm doing because I only do it for exhibitions and shows that I have. It's mainly what I practice is what I teach in IT.
Do you plan on this being a sole workspace, or would you be holding any gallery events or showings?
Oh, no, just
No.
Okay.
I'm very private even what I am now.
Other people besides us would not go in there.
Okay.
He's an artist.
Is it?
So are you thinking heating, air conditioning and everything in there?
Electric.
Only electric. That's all I need. I mean, I need water sometimes to wash my brushes and to wash other things,
but we won't be doing plumbing. That's part of the benefit of having it at the house. He can come inside to go to the bathroom. He can go to work. He can come in for dinner.
You can't have a 480 square foot shop without a bathroom.
Yes,
It's right in, sure you can. It's right in the backyard. You can run out and run back.
I know.
Yeah, we are not, yes, we do that from the start. So no plumbing.
I do wanna
Just electric.
Sounds like a lot of cool stuff. What kind of smells emanate from the work that you do? Paint, chemical, cleaning?
Mainly, I mean, I only use, in this case, acrylics too. I mean, I don't use any more oil because the paints and, very minimum of solvent. I try to minimize that because I'm also myself in hell in all of these. So mainly, something that is safe for use. That's what I'm do more mixed media now. So I don't have to work with heavy. And if I use this acrylic or in this case, other type of vinyl acrylic paints that I get from, they are waterproof.
Will neighbors smell chemicals coming from the shed?
No.
Okay.
You said you do some metal work. Would you have any metal fabrication equipment or anything like that in the workshop?
No, I can do it in the shop. I can do sometimes small TIG welding for the small pieces that I make, but I cannot do any grinding of that. No, especially in wood. I've been doing this for over 35 years. That place will burn down in a second just with the debris. No. It's just very minimum.
Go ahead. When he's gotten commissions to do like large sculptures in front of Peter's Family Life, he rents a safe space like Mahaney's Welding or something else like that. That isn't anything that he would be doing at our home.
The only reason I ask is just thinking about if there's heavy metal equipment, fabrication machinery, it can be loud.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
What about lathes or wood machine?
No.
Lathe.
This is there garage doors on this?
No, it's just like a house door.
A man door or whatever.
Yeah.
Yep, windows, it'll be match the house. We've spoken with it. You won't be able to see it from the road. Our yard is already fenced. You can't.
Your neighbors will see it.
Our neighbors in the back will see it. We spoke with neighbors on both sides. They have no concerns. They said if you would like them to, if you'd like me to present letters, they're happy to do that. But to the right and to the left and across the street, all of the neighbors have said that they have no issues. It would only be visible from the backyards of the two neighbors on the sides. They both have sheds in the same location, smaller, but both sheds in the same location. And they said they have no concerns whatsoever.
You had mentioned just some large pieces. Is that walk-through door going to be big enough to get?
So if he does large pieces, he doesn't do them on site at the studio. That's where he rents space at like a Mahaney's Welding or other community space, because then it's also large welding. So you need
ventilation,
fireproof.
Yeah, ventilation. Yeah.
He hasn't done a large sculpture in a while.
I'm old now, so I need to.
He keeps saying he's old. He's really not that old, but
23 is not old.
He's been doing it for 35.
Yeah.
He was doing it before he was even old.
Are you comfortable with it being in the back part of the property there? I mean, given the flood zone area?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually took pictures on my phone of the neighbors on either side of us and where their sheds are, and they're in the same location as we're proposing. In fact, ours will be a little bit
It's going to be
closer to the house than theirs, but I have pictures if you'd like to see them of their two sheds, and they'll be exactly lined up with the neighbors next door, of course, with the required space in between.
What about your existing sheds?
So one is, mower, lawn equipment, all of that thing. We have a pool. So the other is the pool and the deck furniture in the winter. And those
This will be shed number 3.
this would be,
Those were
yes.
already in the house, and there were these small plastic ones that are in there.
Yeah.
So we just used them because they were there.
Yeah, the glitch, the people before us, the Dennis Glitch had the sheds and we just kept them.
Kevin, what about that?
I did not realize that there were any other structures of the property.
There's 2 more sheds.
There was nothing on the survey that show.
Yeah, they're
By the garage.
They're directly behind the garage. They're not visible from the road. And like I said, one has pool and our deck furniture for the winter, and the other is
I know they're not large, but they are visible from the road because that's how I saw
The
them.
issue is that now that square footage would have to be added to it, and there's a
Right.
third variance for
An extra
big
shed.
structures on the property. I did not realize that there were any other structures.
Yeah, they were there when we bought the house.
What do we do about that, in your opinion?
You have to re-advertise, right?
You would have to, unfortunately, you'd have to submit 2 more variances, one for.
Even though the sheds were already there.
Absolutely.
So can we have Dennis come and submit those variances since he put them up?
No. It has to be you.
I mean,
Plus they pay you back.
He should have done it.
What type of sheds are they?
they're just
Plastic,
like
they're
the heavy duty
assembled
plastic
They're like
lawn
a
sheds.
4x4 or something like that.
For
Yeah, maybe 4x5, maybe that's what they are.
they're just the small, you pull your mower in and you put your weed whacker.
Unfortunately, our town code, there's no minimum size per shed.
Mm-hmm.
And it adds, no matter what, it adds to the total square footage.
You're allowed to have 2 sheds on the property structure, accessory structure. However, this is the third, and now you're asking for 480 where 182 is allowed, but you're at 482. Whatever those are, 2
Which is probably 520 or 540.
or you could, there's that small possibility of just removing them.
So if we remove one of them and then I put my lawnmower in my garage, will that be fine?
There's
Will be
still,
2?
the size still gets added to the other shed.
Square footage shed adds up, so.
So no, so we need more work.
Yeah.
So if we reduce the size of the shed what we are proposing, because I believe it's 24 by 20 to 20 by 20, will that be fine? Because it will take the 4 feet, 4 by 5 of the other one.
Well, here's the problem though. We have to ask you if you can operate on a small, we want the smallest variant possible. That's our focus. So if you're saying that you can operate on a smaller facility, then we should ask for you to do a smaller.
Yeah, well, the thing is, right now, I mean, we didn't know about these other 2 sheds, that were part of these in the sense of, we didn't have them, they were there, that we needed to look at that, too. We assumed that just having the one in the back, it was just what we are proposing,
So do we need to submit a new proposal, including the square footage of the sheds that were there when we bought the home?
He's the one that needs to.
Yeah. If you want to keep both of them.
And if we want to take one, we'd have to take both down in order for it not
You have
to.
to take both down in order to build 20 by 24 as proposed tonight. If you want to keep one of them.
Or 2.
Or both.
You have to redo the.
1 or 2 variants, additional variants.
Okay, so can we do 1 permit for everything, or they have to be 2 or 3 permits?
The only way you can do 1 permit is to remove both the sheds.
Okay.
The other option is if we know the exact size. If you remove one of those sheds, add that square footage up to 480 total square foot, then you can reduce the size of your proposal tonight.
Okay, so if we commit to taking down 1 shed, keeping this at 20 by 24, but we're taking down a shed.
You
can't keep
for the
Gotcha.
square foot of the remaining smaller shed.
Okay.
Just to be clear, to say it out loud, we have 2 things we pay attention to: quantity of units In this case, it's 3 that you're asking for,
Well,
even though you didn't realize that that's what you're asking for.
Yeah.
And total square footage has to be advertised accordingly.
okay.
So if you're at 480, I think was the number. If you're at 480, we can't, you can have 2 structures
Okay.
without asking me for another permit, but you cannot exceed 480.
So if we take down one shed and reduce the size of the building we want to put up to 20 by 20, that'd be a total of 480 and we don't have to start over.
If
we approve it.
smaller shed is 15 square feet. Yes.
They're a standard. I could maybe look it up and see what's.
The other complication is that,
We need to know.
Yeah.
right.
Correct.
I think the other complication is that my understanding is this is the prefab
It's
structure.
heritage structures that would be putting it up.
Prefab, they can make it to any size they ask.
Okay.
So if they said 20 by 24 and we said, no, you have to change it. And they said 20 by 23, Heritage will make it 20 by 23.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't have this in a building somewhere done, most likely. They're going to make it
Okay.
somewhere else and bring it here.
Right. I just didn't want to get in the trap of,
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't already have.
It's pre-built or then you're actually.
So they're going to build on, it comes in sections, but then they put it together on
put it
site. You
together.
can adjust whatever size you want.
Okay.
So the other question that I have to ask as part of our requirement, can you do this in a smaller facility?
I mean, he could answer that, but not really.
Yeah.
I mean,
I mean,
based on safety for him to move around and equipment and.
Once I move all my equipment and benches in there, it will be small. And I mean, if that's the only thing that the town has allowed me to do, I mean, it is fine. You know, my wish will be to have another 4 feet more because it does really make a difference for me. You know, the type of work that I do, it gets very full as soon as I finish work, and it's just that. But you know, if I don't have any other choice, what am I gonna do? You know, it's up to you, in a sense of allow me or not. So I will have to work with what you guys gave me.
If you can buy each piece that he makes, then he has more space, but I'm guessing the town can't commit to that.
No.
That brings up another question. This is a
Commercial.
Nothing sold there. He exhibits at galleries. I mean, things go out. There's nothing commercial on the property.
solely within. The
Yeah,
dwelling,
no, he works at RET.
No.
Okay. So
So what do we do to move this forward with the permits?
You could resolve to have a 480 square foot accessory structure on the property. Not knowing what the one remaining is going to be, and you're not voting on the side of the shed, you're voting on 480 square feet.
Or whatever we approve.
Or whatever you approve. Then they would
Right.
have to adjust the size and move that down to that. Rather than.
Or they could remove both of the sheds.
Pardon me?
Or both sheds could be removed.
Right.
Or both.
But yeah, the total of 480, we really can't go less than, because between if it's a combination of a shed and a smaller building or
take
no
both.
sheds in the full site, because if we have no sheds, we will have to find space for all of that other stuff. And our garage can't
This
fit.
is hard in my opinion, because I'm really not for the size of this, let alone the size plus. And so for me, this is a difficult spot. I think it's too large for the property. And you know, I feel we have made a few mistakes on large sheds at properties before, and I think it's fine while the person lives there, but when you leave, there's a 408-foot shed that who knows what they're going to do with it, whoever buys the house. And that's something that I think about every time I do this. So I do have troubles with this personally. I understand the need, I understand the desire, but I have troubles with it.
Do you know the total square footage of your lot? Or what the acreage is?
Off the top of my head, no.
Is it on
I
the
don't.
page?
I mean,
It
we
is
have
in the
no, and
map.
you know, we have no neighbors behind us. It's a
Right.
river, so you know, there's no
It's just the river.
or it actually probably makes it look nicer than the neighbor's chain link fence.
I would have to agree. I am having trouble with the size of the shed or accessory structure, you know, with their testimony and justifying the size. I know you had mentioned you have equipment, and you obviously need room to move around as you're working. I understand that. Mr. Chairman, I'm proposing that maybe you guys can draft a little layout of where you anticipate, you know, tools and equipment to go, to kind of justify the size of the building.
I'm making it based on what I have right now, you know, in a sense of the space, because reducing the space that I have in half, it really bunches all my benches that I have together with all my tools and, you know, paintings and other things. So really that is space, you know, the smallest that I can work is 20 by 20 in order for me to work fine, to have the space that I need to do.
20 by 20, 400.
Yeah.
Plus the shed.
Plus the shed.
So a total of 480. They're separate buildings, a shed and a 20 by 20 building.
Is there a reason as to why the proposed, I guess, shed or structure was set so far away from the house rather than closer to the house?
Oh, well, there's not, I mean, we have a deck, we have a swimming pool.
Okay.
That, you know, that's really and then that yard, it's a large yard. It goes, you know, all the way back, obviously, to the river.
But with the line, with the property fence is way more closer to our house than our neighbors. Their fence really extend double.
Yeah, we did look at a home renovation to, you know, build onto our home, but the price was not affordable. Sure. I mean, you're talking $150,000 to do a renovation to our house, and then we'd be here talking about the same thing. So,
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Looks like this property is 28,314 square feet, which would allow 283 square foot accessory structure space. Reason we're doing 480 whereas 192 is allowed because we're looking at a shed, not a building. But it's a little perspective of 283 to 480 rather than 192 to 480.
And you're allowed 2 sheds or 2 total outbuildings? Whether they're a shed or
the way it's worded is I get 2 sheds. A little quirk there.
Right.
Does that mean, in your interpretation, does that mean this is not, it's independent of this? And
no, it's not. I'm just giving you the information that they're 200 square feet over rather than almost 300 compared to what not paper here. So if you look at the accessory structure, I have 2 different permits. One structure is more expensive or accessible. And that shed specifically limited to 192. That's why we're here for variance.
so either way, it's the wrong variance.
No, it's the right variance. They're asking for a shed larger than the 192. I'm just saying if they were to.
So if it's a variance that ends up being an accessory structure, air quotes accessory structure, you're gonna, unfortunately for them, there's an extra charge, but it's not $150,000. It's $100
or still very with the total.
Does that change anything that we advertise? Does that change the advertisement?
No.
Well, it does a little because we still have potentially have extra space here that we're talking about.
What I'm saying is if it was advertised as an accessory structure,
we would have been 280.
You would have been lesser of a variance.
But does that
Still same thing.
But even though the square footage is a separate, does that mean if they had applied for an accessory structure, they were allowed to have a shed and an accessory?
No, it would still be. We still
have a problem.
Still too many.
And the total square footage has to be identified.
Represented in, right.
And less than 480 because that's what was advertised.
I guess for me, I don't know if I feel comfortable making a decision on an application for or against without knowing the sizes of the existing structures.
Right. Hey, Bob, this.
I to get rid of both of them.
Eric,
Hey, Bob, this is Eric. Yeah, unless you guys know the exact size of the shed that they would be keeping, I don't think you can make a decision tonight because that would factor in since the total, you're limited with the total.
but we could go under that size. We could say not to exceed, well, if we did it, not to exceed 480. Is that correct?
The combined size of both sheds could not exceed 480.
So it can't be more than two structures, whether it's shed or accessory structure, and it can't be more than 480 total.
Correct.
If we're even have the
Which they said they could accomplish by removing a shed and reducing the size of the new structure.
Yes.
Right, if we're okay with that.
If we're okay with it.
And they,
That might be
Yep.
reasonable for us to stipulate that maximum 480, maximum 2 buildings. And then it's their responsibilities to make the adjustments.
and Kevin, that's 200, we said it's like 200 square feet more than what's allowed.
For the accessory structure. It's still huge.
Yeah.
And so I still have troubles with this. I understand the need and the desire from the applicants. I understand that it's harder to see from the road. This is
I think is what is hard in a sense is, not being familiar with, what I make, in that sense. And if I was just my lawnmower too and my gardening tools, but I work with large pieces and it takes over the space very quickly, aside from my tools and my benches.
I don't completely agree with that comment because for me, it's more about the variance and what the people around you see. And your use has to be something that we factor. Like for us, it's the benefit versus the detriment, the benefit to you versus detriment to the neighborhood.
Right.
And so the benefit to you is you would be able to do this from home, and at a certain size, you'd be able to use this facility because it would work for you. But for us, we have to decide if that works for the neighborhood and other things, other factors that we have, environmental and other things as well. And an experience that I have from dealing with this from other houses around Henrietta, this is a very large structure for a backyard. As much as it wants to work, you want it to work for you, and so do I. This is something that is very large in the backyard. I look back at things that we've done and realize there's some locations that we've made a mistake where we've allowed them to have a large structure, and it is out of place in the neighborhood.
And it's not uncommon for people to come back and say, now that it's built, I had no idea it was going to be that big and look that big and take up that much space and everything else. And then we get a flood.
And neighbors that are upset about it too. Like the one that's in my head is on Henrietta Road, the blue and orange one that is gigantic. I think it's smaller than this.
Would do the letters from the neighbors help?
It does not hurt. And so we could see those. If you give it to us, we have to keep it.
Yeah. Yep. So they're willing to recommend these we had done when we were thinking of 20 by 20. So these actually both are 20 by 20. That's across the street.
Thank you.
Peggy Mercer and Michael, and this is next door.
And again, we have to keep these.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I will read these because I want it to be on the record here. Our neighbors Katie Allen and Carlos Caballero have requested a permit to add an oversized shed to their backyard. They requested to install a 20 by 20. Again, that's slightly smaller than what we're talking about right at the moment, although it might be in line. As their next door neighbors, we don't have any concerns about them adding a larger shed workshop to their backyard. It will be finished to match their home and not visible from the road. They requested to place their shed in the same back portion of their yard in line with our shed. The location is fine with us and we support their application. Good. And Margaret Mercer, I'm sorry, lives at 194 Bay Trail. Along with my husband, Michael, we received your letter regarding the application by Juan Carlos Caballero Perez, who resides at 193 York Bay Trail, requesting a variance and oversized shed workshop. We have absolutely no problem with the building of the shed workshop in the backyard at the address. The homeowners are wonderful, responsible neighbors, and seem lovely, so I won't debate that. And the property is always maintained to the highest level. A new workshop will be a great addition to the existing home and yard. That's Margaret and Michael Mercer. And these, sorry, are these directly next door either side?
So the Mercers live directly across the street. And the first letter from Evgeny and Rachel Gorodetsky, so if you are
next neighbors.
Right. The neighbors on the other side, they said that they're happy to write a letter, but we were out of town. I just got back and they were out of town, but they said I'd be happy to bring a letter from them if you would like.
Go ahead.
I have a question. So are you planning on using this workshop all year round?
No, there's times in the winter that is going to be too cold for me to work too. But if I have electrical, I can do some work, right? Because I wasn't sure even that the town was allowing to have electrical. So I went back after I went to get the application. But, I can have a small heater, then I can work. It's fine. I mean, right now, as it is, the place that I work is cold anyway, too. So it's, it doesn't change anything for me. As long as I get to a temperature that I can work, it is fine.
And right now we're paying a large amount of money to rent a space. Sorry, but our taxes are about to skyrocket. We have another home in Henrietta that we rent for both of those houses went up. So the other issue is obviously paying rent someplace, is difficult. We really, I think just the place we are in life, having him nearby, near home, being able to easily go back and forth, work, be safe.
Usually, if I stay and work during the winter time, sometimes there's times when I finish school at 7, because I work all day. I do oversee undergrads and grad students. Then my only time to work is in the evening, and I do that because that's what I teach. So we are responsible to exhibit, to do national shows. That's what I am right now. I'm here doing a jury for an exhibition in Penn State. And but so the only times that I go is sometimes I work 2, 3 in the mornings, and I have to stay in their place and come back because there's too much snow in downtown. So I was trying to make these easy in some ways for me and my wife, so it doesn't worry. And but it's mainly what I'm asking for these. But obviously, you guys are the ones that have more experience on these and understand maybe. And your own perspective, the zoning and the responsibility of every person that is acting in these, in a sense of asking for a permit. So at this point, is whatever you think it is right, it is fine. If it's not, then it won't. That's what it is.
I also have another question. You had mentioned that if you guys do like a lot of your metal work, you go, especially for like welding, you go to another facility.
Yes, to rent space. Those are
usually
one-time commissions. So in front of Peter's Family Life is a large sculpture. You've probably seen it. He made it. At NTID, there's a sculpture behind RIT. There's a sculpture on University Ave. He has sculptures. So those are one-time commissions. Those you have to apply for. They're made in a certain period of time. And the only way those are large, those cannot be done at his current
I cannot move.
And this kind of
so
space,
large.
that is where he goes somewhere else to do that, because that's also hiring people, the whole thing. He hasn't applied for any commissions in years. Those are heavy work. But
the last time it was
ever
in
be done at our
2008.
home with that.
Because my question was, I didn't know how those worked. If you guys went there, worked on it, and had to bring it home.
Oh, no, it
Okay.
never.
No.
They have to be moved by like
The
forklifts and big
last-
heavy trucks. Yeah.
The last piece that I
No.
make, it's outside of the library in Fairport. And
Yeah.
that was in 2003. And I had to build that in Miller's Metal Fabricators, which I rent the space for them to work. So I do have to rent the spaces for them too.
Yeah, nothing comes to our house for those.
Okay.
Great.
All right. No further questions.
Any other questions from the board? Any questions from members of the audience? I don't think there's anybody else left. Mike, you're good. Do we want a minute, or what do we think? I still have trouble with this, so
I'll share my thoughts. We believe can't be seen from the road. The back of the house is a river, not other people. All 3 neighbors on their sides are okay with it. We believe the applicants that it's not going to make substantial noise or odor, not going to be used for commercial use. I'm in favor.
Aaron, what do you think about?
I'm in favor of it. Actually, I've been not in your yard, but my son Thomas is friends with Max.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I've been back there, Evgeny and Rachel showed me their backyard, so
Yeah.
how big it is and everything. So I've been, so I kind of know what the lay of the land looks like. Not your house specifically, but I think in this case, I don't think it's going to be that big as far as, I mean, it's a big backyard.
It's a very big
They're
backyard.
because it backs up to the river.
Sometimes I have to mow it. It's a very big backyard.
Right, yeah. My concern is to the flooding as far as, there's, I don't know about your yard necessarily, but in your neighbor's yard, there's an area where they graded it and then all of a sudden it stops because there's the flood area so I'm assuming
this will,
the structure would be on a part that had been already graded
Yeah.
prior to, and it'd be.
Yeah, and I think when Ryan Homes built all the homes, they ensured that none of us would need flood insurance, the way that the yards were graded and all of that. Yeah, and it'll be even with the neighbors on the sheds of both of our neighbors. So it's in the same location as theirs.
Yeah, because I did notice also that when we walked down where his shed is, and there's a grade going down, so it's the flooding.
Yeah.
Recently, I'm concerned that you don't want any of your artwork or anything to get damaged.
We had no water other than the pool overflowed. But
well, that's
so yeah, we had no water in the recent flooding.
Okay. All right, but I'm okay with it as it's.
Well,
I guess I'm really, really torn. I think aside from the neighbors directly from either side of the house, on their side of the street, they're the only one who actually sees the building. So with the trees and vegetation on the riverfront, you're not going to see the building very well. If I put this in my perspective, I'm thinking of undue financial burden, and if that's being caused, I think about property values, right? And I'm welcome to hearing arguments, but I think that this would probably increase the property value. I mean, I think I would love to have a hobby place or a place I could go work outside my house.
So you're in favor for it?
I would be in favor as long as total square footage of everything did not exceed that 480.
It can.
I would be happier if it was closer to 400.
I agree.
I was actually thinking the same thing too, 400.
We'd have to get rid of both sheds, and then where do we put all those things?
And what is 400? That feels like an arbitrary number. What does 400 do?
I believe that's 20 by 20.
So that's a 4 feet.
But how does that change any of the factors?
Right. I mean, you're talking about the difference between the 192. We're actually only asking for 200 over what's allowed. 2 buildings, 200 over.
Which is still substantial. It's like 70 or 80%. That is a substantial variance.
It's a big structure.
Yeah.
This is substantial. I think the arbitrary 40 is a difference, or I'm sorry, 80 square foot difference.
Right.
But nobody's going to drive by and say, "Ooh, I'm okay with it."
I agree. That's arbitrary. This is a huge structure. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay. So are you okay or not?
I would be okay as long as obviously one structure has to be removed. And then
We know that.
Right, we know that. And that the other structure, of course, well, it has to be included in that. So yeah.
Okay. Heather?
I'm on the fence.
John, I'm gonna skip you for one second. John,
I'm okay as long as we're under the 400 or 400 acre.
Okay, so mathematically it's a pass. So okay, so with that we can close this application.
Okay.
You have to put the qualifier, you don't have to put in, but it's implied, you might want to just say the qualifier that it is only two structures. It's implied, but I think we should say it.
Okay.
I agree.
Does anybody care about the location?
No.
Okay. So I just need 1 minute to fill this out.
While he's filling that out, your tattoos are very neat.
Thank you.
Say that. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but I'm saying it.
Off the record.
Yeah, unofficial.
Thank you.
Unofficially, you're not allowed to say that.
Yeah, I didn't notice it till you walked up. I was like, oh, that's neat.
So I can't make art. He's the artist, but I love art. So, I have it, things that he made, I wear and, on my body.
By the way, speaking of selling the pieces, you made it mention, where do you actually sell them? I was looking online, you get some fascinating work that you do.
Memorial Art Gallery carries his work.
I can't afford it.
What's the name of the Memorial Art Gallery store, the Buffalo Arnott Art Museum, the RIT Gallery. He's got a gallery in Texas that carries his work. A few other places.
But the mag is where you could walk in and look at.
You can walk into the store and anytime and look and just say, they're all marked by his name. And then a lot of the other pieces are made by students that he's had over the years because he teaches at RIT.
Excellent.
He teaches finance, right? He doesn't.
Coding. He teaches coding. So Carlos is the jewelry and metals professor at RIT.
Excellent.
Where he also graduated from.
I haven't seen the piece at RIT that's outside. I saw the picture, but I saw that Albert Pele in the video of the installation. It's just staggeringly massive.
So Albert Pele's piece is right in front of the community or the center,
right in the
activity
middle there,
center.
yeah.
Yeah. And then Carlos has 4 pieces outside of NTID. So you go to NTID and walk around the back. There are 4 small structures with light. He made those, and then up behind where the new, what's it called?
Behind the College of Art Design and Engineering, there's a plaza, and there's a large
bar
stainless
steel.
steel
Yeah,
stainless
that
piece
one.
there too.
Yeah.
Very neat.
Yeah.
You're very talented.
And I have some of them in my backyard. If you guys are interested.
And the sculpture we saw in front of our house is from a student.
I like straight lines, so it's very neat to me. So I like. I know maybe I'm boring. I
No.
like stuff that's organized.
Geometric.
It's a problem.
When
OCD.
You're on your bike, you like curves. Don't
That's different. That's very different. Ready the keyboard.
Oh,
Mhm.
I actually haven't used my keyboard in a really long time.
That doesn't work. Maybe ask the one there.
One thing that I have to say, can you still hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that you guys are so nice. We went to our hearing for our assessment of our house, and I'm not sure they were really tough.
Well, good. Maybe I got to toughen up a little.
No, they need to loosen up a little. I spent some time with the assessors. They're cranky.
Cranky.
But they, man,
They
they
get yelled at.
take pressure.
They get yelled at all
Oh
day.
my God.
I'm sure. Yeah. We didn't yell.
No,
We were very
won't yell
polite.
either.
It didn't help.
We, the thing that's hard is sometimes we decline these, right? And people are like, I want this shed, I want this. I'm sorry. I'm actually surprised this one went through, to be honest with you. But it's never personal. It's a thing we got to do, and that sometimes it's hard.
Yeah.
We had one recently. It was the dog rest. No, the
Oh, that was an awful one.
it was
Dog daycare.
That
yeah.
was awful.
Oh.
It was
I felt awful, but we had to decide the way we did.
yeah,
And the resolution came out good afterwards. They figured out.
yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Kevin, for the language of this exception, should I call the existing structures or existing sheds? Is there a technicality there?
Just say, I would just say structures.
Yeah.
Because the total has to be less than 3. It has to be 2 without a variance, so.
Yeah, the code does say number of individual accessory buildings shall not exceed 2.
Accessory buildings.
Okay, so say accessory buildings?
Yeah.
Okay.
That encompasses
Everything,
and
yeah.
larger accessory structures. Does not include garage.
But what's the difference between an accessory structure and a shed?
So next month is pretty light.
And
well, 37.
And we're saying
A shed is, says 192, can't be insulated, can't have plumbing. An accessory building is a general term for all accessory buildings. We do have 2 separate permits, one for a shed, different price range, for accessory, typically a pole barn. Much larger structure.
But pole barn might not be, so basically you could insulate an accessory
An
structure.
accessory structure doesn't say anything about not being insulated, technically not having plumbing or, electricity.
It's very loose.
It's very loose. I think what happened was one of those definitions we put in place, someone had a different idea, and 1 year afterwards, put another definition, never decided to go back.
It's an overlook.
That's throughout our code.
Yeah, for sure. Well, over the years, this happens. It's not unheard of.
Don't get me started on sign permit, sign code.
I know. Still not done, right?
17 months.
Who's coming?
Me.
Okay.
You good?
Ready? Yep.
Okay, we're ready.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, with regard to application number ZBA 2025-050 for an area variance, I move to approve as follows. Whereas the zoning board has 1, duly advertised and held a public hearing, 2, has considered all relevant information, and 3, has considered the potential benefit to the applicant versus the potential detriment to the neighborhood or community in relation to such variance. Now, therefore, it be resolved that the zoning board of appeals makes the following findings of fact. The variance will not result in an undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties. The variance has been shown not to change the character of the neighborhood. It will not be visible from the road or be screened, and it will be screened from the river by existing vegetation. The variance cannot be achieved by some other feasible alternative. The variance cannot be achieved by other means as the applicant is significantly reducing available space by no longer renting studio space off the property. The variance requested is substantial. While substantial, the variance has been proven not to be detrimental to the other findings of fact. The variance will not have a negative effect on the physical or environmental conditions. The variance has been shown to not have negative effects on physical or environmental effects by not locating the structure in the flood zone. The difficulty relating to the variance was self-created. While self-created, the variance has not proven to negatively impact the stated findings of fact. And be it further resolved that based upon the above findings, the zoning board of appeals hereby approve the variance as presented, and be it further resolved, this approval shall be subject to the following conditions. 1 of the 2 existing accessory buildings shall be removed. Total square footage of all accessory buildings shall not exceed 480 square feet.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, aye.
Aye.
So that's Bob and Heather are opposed. With that, the motion carries, and good luck.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Did we
Thank
get
you.
a second on that, Bob?
Oh, who seconded that?
You did, didn't you?
No, I didn't second it.
I didn't second.
Would you?
I will, yes. Heather, I will. Heather, I will second Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
Seconded by Christian.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Good night.
With that, we can close the meeting at.
Do we need to do the voting again? Seconded after vote?
Do we need to do the vote again?
No, I think we're clear. Thank you, guys.
Okay.
Thank you.
With that, we can close the meeting. It is 8:58.
Thank you.
That was a long.
Yeah, it could be long, it's not the one I thought. it was.
I did not anticipate that.